Hello dear friends as 10. We have worded with prepare this. Preparation or morning lesson hour. Preparation is the greatness of Creator. In the 10 especially we called it, because a man can't feel alone the Creator, but around friends. We can feel the Creator when we focus on, and the work in the work is a place we can feel every friends hold each other and importance to the purpose and gets inspiration from there, and he can feel he has a kind of strength for advance to forwards. Now the Congress time, and this is a great opportunity for unity, and we want to use the stuff for Congress for preparation, and we can come to the Congress and we get a strength from tens getting greatness or Creator from friends and give them again this is just one chance, just if we can do it with just our tens. Article 13. What is the bread of an Iliad man in the work we want to be rewarded with feeling while engaging in Torah and mitzvot that we are serving a great and important King, and that by this there will be love of the Creator within us from feeling his exaltedness. However, all of our pleasure will come from serving the Creator. This will be our reward, and not that he will somehow reward us for the work. Instead, we will feel that the work itself is the reward, and there is no greater reward in the world than the privilege of serving the Creator. Dear friends, ask the workshop question. How can we feel and be in a state where the very act of working to serve the Creator is itself the reward? Again, how can we feel and be in a state where the very act of working to serve the Creator is itself the rewards? By ascribing sufficient importance and greatness to that thing by that we create this spirit in the 10, whereby working by advancing we feel that we're receiving fulfillment from that a certain reward. This, and it's a great fortune that we have the friends and the group to support that. We can really move forward and feel practically that if I invest more or less, and at the end of the efforts of Lishma, whenever that will be, we will reach Lishma, and that is a very high state, a state of bestow, where what's important to us is bestow and not the control of the will to receive, and that is attainable through the connection between us in the work we do together. Yes, really all the calculation of bringing contentment depends a lot on the actions of the lover of friends, and that needs to be cons. We need to consider how much I work for him and how much I work for myself. Yes, now before the lesson, need to feel and scrutinize how much we've been awarded with serving the King, and it's when we all connect and want to bestow contentment upon him through our work, our prayer to him. Precisely by working between us and connecting and wishing to raise the importance of the goal all the time, and all the work between us we are rewarded with something that is always beyond the work beyond that, and we need to always remember that, always to not forget that. Writes that the environment makes the man, so if together we talk about it, discuss it, help each other with it, saying that this is the reward our work, with gratitude to the Creator, then that's what'll happen, so it'll be. Yes, we truly need to give this feeling, but really work with the Creator to serve the Creator. It's the greatest greatness, and we feel that in the 10 where the whole work towards him and the whole prayer towards him comes from the 10. Silent workshop question. Let's enter the lesson as one man with one heart and feel the greatness of the Creator again. Silent workshop question. Let's enter the lesson as one man with one heart and feel the greatness of the Creator. Dear friends, in the first part of the lesson, we will watch a recorded lesson from January 4th, or rather the 1st of April 2002, based on the article What is a Flood of Water in the Work? Let's read the article together. We have 38 minutes for that. What is a flood of water in the work? Interprets the verse quote, Behold, I bring the flood of water on the earth. End. These are its words. Quote open. These are the waters of our quarrel, where the children of Israel quarreled. He asks, did the children of Israel not quarrel with the Creator elsewhere? He answers, these were the waters of quarrel which gave power and might to the accuser to grow stronger, because there is sweet water and there is bitter water. Kasher, holiness, and the opposite of the right line. There is clear water and there is murky water. The kasher, holiness, and the opposite the left line. There is water of peace and water of quarrel, holiness, and the opposite of the middle line. Hence the verse says, quote, these are the waters of Merivah quarrel, where the children of Israel quarrelled with the Creator, indicating that it is the opposite of the middle line, for they extended on themselves what they should have not extended, the opposite called water of quarrelling, and were defiled in it, as it is written, and he sanctified in them. End quote. We should understand the meaning of the 3 types of water, which he says correspond to 3 lines. What is it in the work? The Zohar certainly speaks from high degrees, where there is the matter of 3 types of abundance that manifest in 3 manners. But what can we learn from this in the work? First, we must know what a flood of water is in the work. This flood was the saboteur who obliterated every living thing. It is known that when a person begins to work in the work of bestow, the body complains. What is this work for you? What point is there in it? That you do not want to work for your own benefit, since you must see that you will enjoy life, and bestowing means that you will not work for yourself. What benefit will you derive from working to delight the Creator by observing his Torah and commandments, which he has commanded us through Moses? Will he reward you for your work that you labor in commandments? To this you answer me that you want to work without reward. How is it possible to understand such a thing as working for no reward? It makes no sense. Our inherent nature is a desire to receive delight and pleasure, and if we exert in something, it must be that we are receiving delight and pleasure in return for our efforts. Thus, it is against our nature, and this is called the what argument. However, there is another argument by which the body resists the work of the Creator. When a person tells the body, we must believe in the Creator, that he is the overseer who leads the world as the good who does good, at that time the body comes to the person and makes Pharaoh's argument, who said, who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice? End quote. That is, it is hard for him to believe in the Creator. He says that he can work for the sake of the Creator, but on the condition that if he felt the greatness of the Creator, he would understand that it is worthwhile to work for him. It is as we see in corporality. If a great person comes and many people determine that he is great, and common sense agrees with those who say that he is great, then just as in corporality a person can work and serve the Great One, clearly if he could feel this greatness about the Creator, he would also be able to work and serve the Creator. Yet we do not have this feeling with regard to the Creator. Rather, as we see, divinity is in exile, and there is no sensation whatsoever of the greatness of the Creator. Thus, how can he annul himself benefit before the benefit of the Creator? Thus, when those 2 me and mar or who end, what respectively connect, it creates the combination mine water in Hebrew. This is the meaning of the words a flood of water on the earth by which they died. That is all spirituality, which is called life, was lost due to these waters, which are the 2 questions, who and what. The spirit of life of holiness departed from them, and they remained dead, as it is written, quote, the wicked in their lies are called dead, end quote, and this is called the waters of the flood in their work. Because of these waters they died in the work, and could not continue the work of the Creator due to the arguments of who and what. And this is the meaning of what is written in the Zohar, quote, said he saw the angel of death coming with the flood water, and therefore went into the ark, end quote. This means that the saboteur, who is the angel of death, is within the arguments of who and what. The salvation of the ark from the flood in the work means that there is the matter of above reason, and this is regarded as wanting to walk with his eyes shut, meaning that although reason and the senses do not understand what our sages tell us, they assume upon themselves faith in the sages, and say that we must take upon ourselves faith in the sages, as it is written, quote, and they believed in the Lord and his servant Moses, end quote, and without faith nothing can be achieved in spirituality. And this discernment is called bina, which is covered, and is called desiring mercy. This means that he does not want to understand anything, and says about everything that it is certainly God's grace that he does with him. And although he does not see the grace that the Creator does with him and with the entire world, he still believes that the Creator leads his world with the private providence of benevolence, as it is written, quote, and all believe that he is good to all, the good who does good to the bad, and to the good, end quote. and this is covered, meaning that although he does not see that it is grace or mercy, he still believes above reason, and says they have eyes and see not, and this is called an ark. For one who enters covered, and accepts everything above reason, in that place there is no control to the other side. This is so because all the questions that the asks can control only within reason, but above reason, that territory belongs to holiness. For all the questions are only according to the external mind. Conversely, the internal mind comes after a person has been rewarded with equivalence of form. At that time, he understands within the internal mind and sees that everything that the external mind thought that it was right. Once he is rewarded with the internal mind, he sees that everything that the external mind argues is untrue. As Balasulam wrote in an essay in Tafan, Gimel, 1942-1943, accordingly, quote, the Sabbater being inside the floodwaters and puts a person to death, end quote. This means that within the water, which is the who and what meaning, with these arguments, it kills people. This is the meaning of the Zohar. Quote, said he saw the angel of death coming with the flood water and therefore went into the ark, end quote. In other words, he saw that with these arguments he would lose his spirit of life. At that time he went into the quality of above reason which is desiring mercy, meaning that he wants only to bestow and not receive a thing. Instead, he is happy with his share and regards whatever understanding and feeling about the work of the Creator that he has as a great reward. He's also happy about all the arguments he heard from the who and what because now he can go above reason. By this he saved from the flood of water. According to the above, we can interpret the Zohar. Quote, a person should certainly hide himself so as not to be seen by the Sabbater when he is in the world, so he will not look at him, for he has permission to destroy all those seen by him. Quote, this is why the Creator sought to cover Noah and hide him from sight, and Noah came to hide from the eye from the water of the flood, for the water pressed him into the ark. He saw the water of the flood and feared it, hence he came to the ark. We should understand how it can be said about a sabotaging angel that if Noah enters the ark, the angel cannot see him, because he is in the ark. How can we understand this? If the Creator advised Noah to enter the ark, so the sabotaging angel would not see him clearly when he saw the ark, what would he think that this is an empty ark, without people? Even if the saboteur were corporeal, he would certainly want to see what is in the ark, all the more so with an angel. Does he not see what is in the ark? Is this possible? In the work we should interpret that the sabotaging angel sees those people who walk within reason. With them, he can argue with arguments of who and what. However, when the Creator told him to go into Benar, which is called the covered world, meaning it is covered from external ones, who are those who go with the external mind? The Sabbater can see them because they have a common language meaning externality. But those who go above reason, who do everything because of faith in the Creator and through faith in the sages, who give them guidance on how to go and achieve adhesion with the Creator and be rewarded with the internal mind, called the mind of the Torah. In that place it is regarded that the sabotaging angel has no means to see, because his vision is in the vessels of reception. For this reason our sages said, quote, once the saboteur is given permission, it does not distinguish between good and bad, end quote. We interpreted that this means that when the saboteur is given permission, even people who engage in reception in order to bestow, who are considered good, since they engage in reception, there can be slander by them. Hence they too enter Bina, which is vessels of bestowal, where the Sitra has no grip. This is regarded as the sabotaging angel not being able to see who is in the ark, since his grip is only on the vessels of reception where he can slander and accuse. But one who walks into the ark which is Bina, a vessel of bestow, the SRA does not see them, that is, they have no common language, making it possible to understand what they argues against the work. When a person walks on the path of bestow, which is regarded as above reason or faith until the point of faith, they can argue with the person But as soon as a person has entered the ark of faith above reason, they remain standing by the gate of faith and cannot continue. It is as it is written in the study of the Transfer Part 14, quote, "This being is still not regarded as devoid of head, meaning wholeness, because being does not suffer from any force of restriction." End quote. This means that since being is regarded as desiring mercy, which is a vessel of bestow, she does not need anything for herself, and anything that she can do above reason. She feels that she has something to if. That is restriction is called lack. And the lack always comes by one's desire to receive something. And if you need to receive and someone interferes, meaning that the giver says, "Yes, I will give you, but only on my terms. And if you agree to my terms, you will receive. Otherwise, you will not." Here there is room for interference. That is, if the receiver is unfit to meet the terms that the giver requires, then the giver is deficient. That is, the conditions that the giver requires are called limitations and restrictions, and the receiver is not always willing to meet these terms. But if he does not want to receive anything from the giver, he does not mind that the giver wants to give only according to restrictions, since he has no business with the giving of the giver. This is called Bainer, a vessel of bestow. She wants to give and not receive anything. However, there is great depth here in Bainer, wanting to give and not receive anything. Here, there is already a condition on the part of the lower one, the giver. That is the fact that the lower one wants to bestow. The lower one says only according to the term that I will present to you I am willing to bestow upon you. Otherwise, I cannot give you anything. What is the condition? I want to see if you are really important, and not simply important, but in order for me to be able to give you everything and leave nothing for myself. But observe with all your heart and with all your soul. I can give you this only on condition that I feel your greatness and importance, then I'll be ready for anything, otherwise I cannot give you what you ask of me. It follows that when a person does not feel the greatness of the Creator, the body cannot annul him with all your heart and with all your soul. However, in truth, by presenting a condition that says, "I agree to work for you, on the condition that I see your importance and greatness," he already wants to receive from the Creator the greatness of the Creator, or he will not want to work with all his heart. Thus, a person is already limited and placed under the governance of concealment, and he is not free to say that he wants nothing but to bestow. This is not true, since he does not want something before he observes that all your works will be for the sake of the Creator. That is, he first wants to receive the greatness of the Creator, and then say that he will annul before the Creator. Certainly this is not regarded as Beiner, because Beiner desires mercy and wants nothing. For she does want, follows that Beiner, whose quality is desiring mercy, meaning that she does not need to receive anything, is therefore free, since only one who needs to receive believe is limited and dependent on the views of others. But one who goes with his eyes shut and does not need any greatness or anything else, this is called freedom. However, we must know that it is a lot of work before we attain the quality of Beiner, that is to be content with little, with his feeling and his mind, and be happy with his share with what he has. That person can always be in wholeness, because he is happy with his share. But what can one do if he has not yet obtained this quality, and he sees that he cannot overcome his will to receive? At that time, he must pray to the Creator to help him, so he can go in the work with his eyes shut, and will not need anything, and will be able to do everything for the sake of the Creator, despite the resistance of the body to this. That is, he does not tell the Creator how he should help him. Rather, he must subjugate himself and annul before the Creator unconditionally. Since he cannot overcome his body, he asks the Creator to help him win the war against the inclination, since he understands his loneliness. For this reason, he asks the Creator to have mercy on him, because he is worse than other people who can be servants of the Creator, whereas he is worse than them. He says that he has a desire to receive and self-love more than all of them. Therefore, he is ashamed of himself that he can be so lonely. For this reason, he asks the Creator to have mercy on him and deliver him from the governance of the evil inclination. Yet, he does not ask for help because he is more important than other people. Brother, he is worse than the rest of the people, because his will to receive is more developed and works within him more vigorously. However, he is not asking to be given more knowledge about the greatness of the Creator, and then he will be able to emerge from the governance of evil. Although this is true, he does not want to tell the Creator that he wants to present him with conditions, and only then he will, agrees to remain with little understanding and a little feeling, not more than he is now. But since he does not have the power to overcome, he asks the Creator to give him the power to overcome, and not brains, mind or feeling. Any advice that a person gives to the Creator seems as though he is setting conditions, as though he has a status and a view. But this is insolence of a person to present the Creator with conditions and say, if you give me, for example, good taste in the work, I will be able to work for you, otherwise I cannot. Instead, one should say, I want to annul myself and surrender unconditionally. Just give me the strength to really be able to emerge from self-love and love the Lord with all your heart. If a person presents conditions, it does not point to one's loneliness. On the contrary, it shows that this person considers himself worthy and proud. It is as though he says, the rest of the people are mindless. They can work for you, but I am not like other people. I know better what it means to be Jewish and what is the work of the Creator. Therefore, he says to the Creator that he should treat him as he understands it, and not as the Creator understands it. Accordingly, we can understand the matter of 3 lines where the Zohar introduces 3 discernments. 1. Sweet water, and the opposite of which is bitter water. It is known that right means wholeness, as it is written in Palissam's essay from in 1940 to 1943, that one must believe above reason that he is complete. The opposite of complete is that the Sitcher comes and shows him all the deficiencies, how he is not following the path of the Creator, thus dropping a person into a state of sadness to the point that the person wishes to escape the campaign. At that time, he only wishes to kill time and sees everything as black. 2. The left line is when a person wants to introspect within reason, to see what he is truly like according to his eyes, whether he is whole or lacking. Since he has prepared himself for this scrutiny and shifted to the left line, because he now wants to pray to the Creator to help him love the Lord with heart and soul. This is called clear water, since there is no waste or mixture here. Rather, he wants to find a place where he can pray to the Creator. Conversely, the opposite of Kadasher comes with complaints and makes him see that he is just fine and has nothing to pray for. This is called murky water, for clear means that there are no mixtures there. That is, he sees the truth as he sees, according to his view and mind. He sees that he is wrong and has the power and desire to pray to the Creator to help him be rewarded with loving the Creator with all your heart. At that time comes the opposite of kasher and mixes falsehood there, telling him that he is fine and has nothing to pray for. This is murky water where falsehood is intermingled, in that they say that he is fine and has nothing to pray for. We should also interpret what the Zohar says. There is water of peace and water of quarrelling, and the opposite of the middle line. The law is that the middle line is a merger of the 2 lines. Since the right line of kasher is wholeness with respect to above reason, and the left line means that he sees within reason that he is incomplete, but quite the contrary, he is full of deficiencies. For this reason, the middle line consists of 2 lines. That is, it is impossible to go above reason before he has reason. That shows him the situation, how it seems to him within reason. Then it can be said that he is not looking at what the mind obligates him to do. Rather, he goes above the intellect and believes in the sages, in what the sages tell him, and does not use his own mind. But if he has no mind and reason to tell him something, it cannot be said that he is going above reason. This is why the middle line is called peace, since he needs the 2 lines. That is, by having 2 opposite lines and needing both. Shalom. But why is it called peace? We should interpret that when he has 2 lines together, He must raise the right line over the left line as it is written in the Zohar. It means that the line of wholeness is built on the above reason, on the left line, and by this we acquire the desire to love the Creator. This is the virtue, the remedy, the quality of above reason. It is as Balsam said that the fact that the Creator wants us to serve Him above reason, the Creator chose this way, since this is the most successful way for the created beings to be rewarded, and then they are rewarded with peace. It is as it is written, I will hear what the Lord God shall speak, for He shall speak peace unto His people and unto His followers, and let them not turn back to folly. It follows that the merging of two lines is called peace, and this is the middle line in Kadashar. Conversely, the opposite of is called waters of quarrelling, since they extended upon themselves that which they should not have extended, called waters of quarrelling, and were defiled in it. This means that the opposite of raised the left line over the right line, meaning said the exact opposite of the path of, is that we need the within reason, which resists what the above reason says. The reason why they need to use and engage in the left line is not that they want to walk in the left line and listen to it. On the contrary, they need to use and engage with the reason so as to have room to go above reason. But what did the opposite of do? They extended the left line so as to control the right line, meaning go within reason. This is real tumor impurity, for tumor is the work, for tumor in the work is called the denseness of the heart. That is the will to receive blocks the heart, so they cannot enter the heart due to disparity of form. Thus a quarrel with the Creator ensued over why the Creator is not giving them delight and pleasure, which is the opposite of peace. For this reason, we must try to go with faith above reason. All the questions that they asks, they can rule only within reason, which means that are above reason is the key for overcoming the questions of who and what, and always be in adhesion with the friends of the Creator. And that is all the work, to adhere to the friends. We adhere to the friends together as much as possible during the lesson and during the day. And now, friends, we will watch a recorded lesson from the 4th of January 2012. Pay attention. The lesson is quite short, so we read the article What is a Flood of Water in the Work from page 36, volume 1 of The Steps of the Ladder. His desire to do good to his creations. This is the thought of creation. The Creator created the created being in order to bring that created being to the best possible state. What is the best possible state? We do not know. In the eyes of the Creator, it is called the best possible state. In order to bring him to this state, a person needs to undergo preparation. The preparation is that a person absorbs within himself all the qualities of the Creator, as well as the qualities opposite to him, and then in a vessel composed of these two opposing qualities, he will have the ability to feel what good that does good is, because nothing can be understood or felt from except from its opposite. That is corresponding to every good feeling. There must also be a bad feeling, and specifically this bad feeling supports the good feeling and gives it all its beauty and all of its fulfillment. In order to bring a person to the best possible state, it is necessary, meaning to lower him to the worst possible state and gradually bring him closer to the good that a person must choose for himself at every stage and in every state he is in. What is good and what is bad? Which things belong to the light and which belong to the darkness? And free choice on the middle line is actually what brings a person new vessels through which he is built and reaches wholeness and eternity. It follows that our entire path is a path of ladder of degrees, letter of states in which we improve our sensation and understanding of where we are, in what state, in what place, or perhaps it's better to say within whom we exist, where person's state is always in always includes 2 degrees, the previous state and the next state, and the person stands between them. The next state can pull a person toward it, while the previous state pushes a person forward via suffering. So these 2 degrees, the higher degree, which I have not yet attained, it can pull me by illuminating to me that it will be good there that I will attain the degree, the next state, and the previous state pushes me through the suffering I discovered in it, that there is nothing good in it, and everything is darkness. That is how a person is advanced. And a person's choice is to, more quickly and more effectively, feel the darkness in the lower degree and to feel the light in the higher degree, and by doing so he shortens the transition time from one degree to the next. How are these two degrees received in a person? In a person, they are received not only as a pulling degree and a pushing degree, pulling from the front and pushing from behind, but in a person, they are received as right and left, two opposing forces. The left side is a person's nature, and the right side is the qualities from the higher degree that become included in the person, which are called the qualities of the Creator. From the lowest state to the highest state, person ascends the ladder of degrees, and each and every degree is composed in this way of a higher and a lower, of right and left. A person who passes through all these degrees is like an empty box. Whichever degree he is in, that degree provides him with all of his fulfillment. Therefore, we call the soul the person who is in a certain degree by the name of that degree, and thus a person changes names, changes fortune, changes place, changes name, changes fortune, and so on. In other words, the degree itself always determines all the fulfillments in a person. Intellect, feeling, ability, everything. What is left in the person is what is called the original 10 spur, which are the same in everyone. Therefore, a person should never worry about how to preserve what he has, how to remain in a particular state, because he has no fixed data except for the structure of the soul, which is permanent, while all of its fulfillments are always interchangeable. Therefore, the tendency needs to be to pass from one degree to the next as quickly as possible, no matter what fulfillment might be within me, because in every higher degree I receive a greater fulfillment according to quantity and quality. However, in order to move from one degree to another, I need to rid myself of the previous degree, to want to cleanse myself from it, to want to receive a higher fulfillment. And here is the entire problem, because if I'm still within my current fulfillment, how can I want to receive a higher fulfillment? It's different. It's opposite. It appears that way to a person who's in a lower degree, so much so that he simply does not agree to it. It's like a child and his parents. The child wants to play, wants to what appear. He wants what appears good to him on his level. But they're forcing him to change, to work hard, and telling him look, becoming such and such is good, but he does not see studying for 20 years and getting some profession, and then working for someone as something good. To the parents, it seems good. They do not understand life as life of games and everything else. They have no interest in that. So it is with us at every degree in relation to the higher degree, and even worse than that, because in spirituality, the difference between the degrees is actual, its oppositeness. Nothing in the lower degree fits, and in fact it is opposite to the higher degree. When we study the study of the 10 sot, how the worlds and state cascade down from the Creator to this world, so we learn and see that each and every degree, when it gives birth to the lower degree, it does so by inverting itself, overturning itself, really ceases itself. Similar to a seed that is placed in the ground, it must completely rot for a tree, for something new to grow from it. Therefore, moving from one degree to another, it's like crossing an abyss. Each time we leap over something where there's no smooth transition from one state to another, and the means or the method for making that transition is called above reason. Above reason means that my reason is what I currently know, think and see within my current degree. That is all my reason. It's all my fulfillment in this degree. I need to, as it were, trample over it and want to receive a higher fulfillment. How is that possible? The means to acquire the higher reason is called bina. The quality of bina, the quality of delighting in mercy, where a person completely stops being a receiver. He stops feeling and measuring himself in vessels of reception. In other words, he no longer uses his own nature, and instead he clings to the upper one, like an embryo, as he neutralizes his vessels of reception and simply wishes to be connected to the upper one. Through this method, through the leap from lower reason to delighting in mercy to bina, the qualities of bina, and afterward to the higher reason, where he once again receives and works with vessels of reception on a higher degree and receives fulfillment. These are the stages of the path. They certainly divide into many additional sub-stages. There is a special technique for how to pass through them. But this is the path by which a person rises each time from a lower degree to a higher one and higher still, where every degree is opposite to the next. In every degree, there is also an opposeness between the vessel and the light, between a person's nature and the fulfillment in it, and then gradually a person reaches a state where he gathers within himself his whole nature that is opposite to the Creator, together with all of the Creator's qualities. And from these two attainments within him a vessel is born that can receive the thought of creation, to do good to his creations, meaning these things that we go through, opposite states, grey states and good states, and the contrast between them becomes increasingly strongly felt each time, and these things are necessary. Also we see how humanity goes through this in a corporeal manner. What was considered good or bad for a person living thousands of years ago, compared to today, look at how much life today has become more polarized, more extreme in its sensations and con and states, until a person gathers all of these impressions and truly becomes able to feel the purpose of creation. He becomes understanding, he becomes feeling, he becomes ready to feel eternity and perfection. The vessel for sensing eternity and perfection must itself be an opposite vessel, a lack of eternity, a lack of perfection, a total lack of fulfillment. It's impossible simply to give that to a person, because in that he would completely nullify himself, and it's worse than death. However, here we need to give a person these vessels such that he knows how to work with them. Therefore, a person is gradually taught how to work with the worst vessels to pass through the toughest states in contrast to the best states. In other words, our path consists of two opposing tracks, the right line and the left line, and to be saved from every state and to continue is only through above reason, meaning to want the upper to pull me from the degree where I'm now to a higher degree where I'll have a different life, different reason, a different feeling, a different fulfillment, because in every degree I ascend with empty box and there I receive fulfillment. This is what is called every day a person is new. So what we essentially need to derive from the study, to derive from our work, from the effort and exertion that we try here and there to give, is only one thing, that in the end the upper force will pull me to a higher state, and there I will receive a different fulfillment, a new fulfillment, a better fulfillment. Yes, Chilt. Are there any questions? He writes about this through the verses. The force of the flood, the force of overcoming. Along the way we will see this. And now friends, let's share our impressions from the lesson and what from it we take or our work in the 6-minute summary workshop. Yes, when we each time we need to want to rise to a higher degree, each there is a new intellect, a new view, a new fulfillment, and it's always completely opposite to the current degree. Really explains the article. There's everything here you can really understand more about our situation, where we are on that ladder, when we need to bestow, and when it is possible to bestow, which is only when we discover the corrupted vessels. That's the whole world in this article. It's exactly as Rav says, that our path is a ladder of states. Accordingly, in each state we progress, and just like we heard from Rav, that we always receive both light and darkness. And an additional thing that he explains is how important it is to start anew, and we go through all the scrutinies and all the states, and we need to let them go and really start anew. What is connection between us? What is the love of friends? What is the love of the Creator? How can we reach a state where we truly wish to go above reason? Yes, and the state, even if it's darkness, it's also advancement. It's also an opportunity to conduct some scrutiny, to understand and scrutinize how important the effort is, how important the prayer is, and connection. And especially now with the Congress coming up, we feel responsibility towards the France, towards the whole group, and we have more and more causes to make efforts and to connect. Yes, we feel that the whole article speaks about whether you succeed to reach prayer or not. The prayer, it's written about murky waters where you feel that everything's okay and you cannot reach a prayer in the clear water, where you see the truth where you are. And Rav tells us here in the lesson that only from the worst possible state where the person feels that it's a worst possible state can you reach a good state from the thing and its opposite. So you need to be happy from everything, even though you are between the degrees, even though you were in the state where it feels like an abyss that needs to rot. But then he told, how can you hold on to that? And he says, fire above reason, and then above reason is against what? It is against the murky waters, against these questions of who and what. Yes, these two questions, they kill us. The question of who and what, the question of who is the creator that Pharaoh asks, and also what is this work for you? That's the flood that kills us. How to be above the flood, to sail above it, and the 10 helps us remain above water to enter the ark and be there. It was a very beautiful article. I would actually take it to the Congress where we can sit and scrutinize everything there. It's very beautiful. And here I've said also very beautifully that we don't need to be concerned about fulfillment and how we feel. We don't need to save it and maintain it because we go from degree to degree. So from degree to degree we have to let it go anyway. And so we need to work to move from degree to degree to catch the next degree, meaning to enter a stronger connection between us each time, and then together we rise to the feeling of I wish it'll happen that way. Yes, I'll continue sank these questions of who and what. There's a quote from the article that all the questions what the Sitra asks can control only within reason, and it also connects to what we heard with about the lines where we want to adhere to the middle line with the friends and to accelerate the times, and that line is truly above reason of adhering to the friends, to the group, to the creator above all. Yes, and as wrote and explained, in order to rise above the ego, we need to rise above reason. We need reason. We need states that we can work with to have some meat, something we can work on in the 10. So actually, the way I feel is we need to be grateful for these states. When friends receive all sorts of states, go through things in the 10 in the group, that's our place to help each other to be grateful for it and to achieve a connection above reason above it. We will watch a recorded lesson on test with Abash, the study of the tense field volume 2, part 5, item 47. Starting with first we will read the letters, or rather first we will read the letters live. This will be item 47. Let's read Ayar's words. The second phase is simple since now it returns to being Mati, and then it repeats as in the beginning. Let's continue to his lesson. And there's a mail from the records of clothing phase 2. And here he says the same thing that since in there's 3. Tur, and similar to, if so just as there did a coupling upon the 2 bits, the 2 twos, for the scent of the lower degree called bin, here as well the Cleo of Keter, that has 3. Made a coupling upon 32, for the sake of her lower one, where here it is considered 30 to the lower one, which is I'm sorry that here it's the lower one is called what is what happens with it we'll see in a moment. It comes and tells us that this level that emerged from Ket is included from male and female. The male extends from the male of phase 3 of clothing, and the coarseness is considered female, which extends from phase 2 of coarseness. It turns out that the level from which emerged upon the lower degree called there is male and female there from who? From the light actually. Whereas, and the coupling that was made upon the clear of for the sake of her lower his lower one called Ben is considered male only. It's called Vak because it receives this level of the upper one called Vak. Whereas here he says male female. Hawaii, we could say since there was the male only of 2 of clothing, and 2 of clothing does not rise in 2 of coarseness. The degree, the upper degree, is always considered a lower degree. Whereas here, phase 3 of clothing is important. If this is from 2 of coarseness, that's also important if it's not the same kind of clothing. Therefore, he says here in the level that emerged from Ketu, there's male and female not the same, with the light of where the coupling was on the part for the sake of Biner for the part of an additional thing there we learned that gave to Biner there was the aspect of Vak, whereas in Biner and has her 3 of clothing, and here it gives to the lower one just considered. When it is 3 of clothing and it's not similar to the they're either right. I'm starting again And now we will explain. And now we will clarify the male and female of the KMA for the male and the female of the couple, and give forth male and female in their example, whereas the male is extended from the form of the male. Now we're speaking of what that male and female have been begotten. From where? From 3-2. Whereas the male extends from the male form, that is vac without G. It turns out that he calls it by the name vac, the male. Don't run the male. Why not? Like him the, where it extends from, and then it takes, due to being born from that, but rather from another reason. Since this clothing can only illuminate in Veer, stands below, and doesn't let the light of Ket to illuminate there because there's no phase 4 of coarseness there. We also learned that in Sag the light of Ab that emerged from A stands under the row of Ab, while there is phase 3 of clothing it doesn't let the G to illuminate, only vac it turns out. What is it called? Vac, for who is the offspring that is born from it in another form in due to the clothing. It's not similar to there where the light of offspring is called vac because of the clothing or because of the offspring. Here because of clothing. So he explains to us that the light of stands below. It turns out that its posterior is below, towards the emanated in the goof, and therefore there is no male in of Ket, but rather vac without G. Here too we should look deeper, since, according to what we learned, means what we say, that only vac illuminates. This is towards the lower ones in the parton, where so we would learn that the offspring that it comes from the phase 3 of clothing. What is the 3 of clothing? That it can give only vac. This can explain the first question, and he also says that the male that is born from it only does not have, but vac without go, it doesn't let it give any more, and who doesn't give, who's the one who's obstructing, who prevents it from him, the light of which stands under the mal of. Hence it doesn't have 3 of coarseness, and doesn't let it illuminate to the low ones only. I'll tell you what I'm asking. If we learn that in the cave there was a coupling upon the 2 twos, then we learn that in the Kli there is the level of phase 2. Why? Since it's weak. Why? Because it was born from 2 twos. From this the level that emerged from 32 needs to reach the vessel of also 32. If it's really 32, he asks if there's a difference between 32 of the clefit or the 32 of the clef. So he says if I were to say that there's the same level 32, soon we will see if it's so. Let's assume that it does. There's a difference. 32 in the Kli of the has G, whereas 32 in the Kli of the light of controls there where the K of Ket will not bestow below. Turns out that they remain in the Gar, and they only have vac. And there we learn who is the female of the K of Binnen. What is the record that remains from the first expansion? And here he doesn't think of it as male, only what not as a female. Only what does he think as a female? Phase 2 of coarseness. So it could be that he wants to think about one time zone here. However, actually, when we need to say the same thing for also the Klemmer remains with the record of AB like it remained with the records of the Kli of Ab in the Galar. So they're the same, no differences. Hence also the male that is begotten from it. There's no vac, only has the vac without gal. And also the female of Keter gives from its form to the female that is begotten from her, as it is the light of Biner. And then the cleat is refined, inverts its anterior downwards, meaning it refines phase alpha the first. Phase is, and gives these 3 lights to the vessel of. If now 3 of clothing is refined, he doesn't say here, what does he say to 1? But also we should say that also 3 of clothing is refined to 2. Here, we'll see, it doesn't say it here, we'll see the later on, only what's written here, meaning that from phase 1, it refines and gives these 3 lights to the vessel of which are the male, which is vac of, because the 3 of clothing does not illuminate, only vac in, and female, which is the light of bin, which comes from phase 2 of coarseness, and the level of phase 1, which is the light of, including the 7 lower spirit, meaning completely in the manner that was clarified in, of the, with, and the whole difference is that here, the degrees descended, and all the aspects of light, and the vessel of Biner of Ab are here in the Kli. But as I said earlier, there's a difference there. Shtuk Biner only vac which is the phase 2 level here. she took vac of 3, which is truly not the same. Only the question is how we think of male and female of the soon we'll see. Now, what from the vessel of Biner? So, he says something to you. The vessel of Biner is incorporated here with the vessel of. Therefore, they remain in Biner, which was incorporated with the vessel of records from Son from the time when she was in AB. Prior to the second departure, it turns out that even when I say that, Biner is incorporated with, and Biner is incorporated with, we have it in the past time with clothing, as we learned, in that it's got expansion, clothing. It's got a record of clothing in Galar. Likewise, there remains in Bavek a record that she had in. He says, but they do not merit a name, since they are equal bases with Son in the vessel of HMA. We could say hey, even more importantly, in the vessel of does not rise with a lower phrase, does not merit a name with a lower phrase anyhow. And likewise, the same coupling that was in the zone of the vessel of Biner, in Ab, which engendered one hay, that descended with the light of the 7-bottom spur, took it, and Mal took the dold in the hay. Just so, they made a coupling here in Biner and Palsag, who made a coupling the zone in the vessel of HMA, and also and engendered one hay that descended with the Zat from vessel to vessel until she reached the vessels of Yod of Mal, where the V in her took the, and there in her mood took. Thus, we explained the 4 males and 4 females in the vessels of the tense Vayud of the new year, from the level of Biner, level of Sagar, because the male of the vessel of Ketema, let's say, he shines, of and the vessel, and the female of Ket, is the level of Biner. This is simple. 232, and the male and female in the vessel of is also of to the male, which is extended from the 3 of clothing, and the level of Biner to the female extended from 2 of coarseness. He asks, even though, in every place, the offspring are regarded as vac with respect to their progenitors, we therefore learned that the coupling that is made in the vessel of on the 2 bits in Ab and she gives to Biner, I say vac of the male. This is called because the lower one takes vac with respect to the progenitors. Nevertheless, here in Sag, because the male of Ket, the clothing, 3 of clothing is light, is immense and great, and they are called vac of, is because of the posterior of the light, of in the row that control it, so it bestows only vac, and therefore its offspring is also regarded as vac-like itself, because it comes in the vessel of, which has no posterior. What is he asking here? Even though in every place the offspring are regarded as vac with respect to their progenitors, here, where, in the vessel of not saying it receives vac, what is he saying here that it receives vac? What is his question? We say that he is vac of male, of the male, and from the phrase of the female it's got it from the phrase of Biner. So he is asking, why does he not think of vac for a different reason? Vac is vac. There's nothing to talk about. He says vac. He says why doesn't he say V? It's vac. He says vac of their male. So the question here is different. Why there, in the coupling that was made in the vessel of Ab, and that light goes out to B, he says it's called vac, because it's an offspring. Why, like a result. Why doesn't he say here, to that it's called vac because of an offspring? That is what he's asking. But there's a reason same tasty is asking here. So what is called vac for a different reason? The answer is very simple. Since here, it's not like there, where it's called vac because of the results, because of the offspring, because of the diminution. Since here there's a question. Is it an offspring a result, or is it not a result? Or maybe the rule is cancelled or it's not cancelled. I must say that here it's a result, there's nothing to talk about, and I must say that the rule is not cancelled. So I'm reiterating, why does he not consider it as vac? He explains this way here. He wants to imply that there is an advantage here compared to what there isn't in the vessel of Biner. 1 first here, that which comes from the vessel of Keter is 3. From the male of Keter is 3a higher degree, whereas in Biner which receives from was only 2. This is why the light is very pleased, but it cannot shine in the vessel of Keter, while there was the control of Keter, but only that, because of the posterior of the light of AB that stands below the H of, because there's 3 of clothing all the time that doesn't let shine, there is posterior. So it turns out that the 3 of clothing, the light that comes from him descended to the vessel of. Now its vessel has no control. The posterior is cancelled already. So I already have an advantage that something can take preference from what he will receive from the male. Likewise the vessel of, although it's a result, it also has an advantage since. And there was 3 of coarseness in the vessel of Keter, and what was in the vessel of 2 of coarseness? A record of 2 of coarseness remains there. The record of 2 of coarseness helps the Boehner, which received from 2 of Ket, so it doesn't give her like any result. There is an advantage here from what there is in the vessel of AB. What was the question? Why is he not saying, according to the known rule, that the coupling that the lower one receives from the upper one, which is called an offspring or a result, is called vac? Here he does not regard it as such. But what do we call vac of HMA? Why does he say that it's called vac? Because it receives from the 3 of clothing, from 3 of clothing called vac because of the clothing. So the light of doesn't let it shine. Why do we need all those things? Simple. It's a result like, which is a result of the vessel of. Answer. Here he says that it's not like their result. The lower one, the vessel of, have assistance, which is not similar to their. This is why he doesn't want to say vac, so he will know it's not similar to their. That's one. What he receives from the view of the male. He receives view of 3 of clothing. It's a great light, which was not in the vessel of which. Received from which phase 2. Here from 2 from 3 3 is a great light 1. The same language. He received encouragement from his vessel, while there was this light which expanded in Keter. There was the governance of the light of AB on the vessel of Keter, so only actual vac would shine. He had posterior of the light of AB, controlling the vessel of Ketag. But when she descended to, the light of AB does not control HMA, but this posterior. This is why there is assistance here from the vessel of the lower one, so it will not be called an offspring like there. This completes the clothing for us. Now, the level of Boehner of the vessel of Sagar receives from the vessel of Ket of Sag, where there is Boehner of coarseness. It's also not called actual offspring. It's called vac because there's assistance. Here, what assistance? There he says, when he knew of their 2 of coarseness to the vessel of, he says, this is difficult. He says, since in the bless of the remains 2 of clothing, there was 3 in a, there was 2 in mer of, so that record remains, and that also helps him make this phase 2 not be real vac. Why is it difficult for me there too? It's the same whether 2 of descended to a Boehner, although there is a record there, and we're saying it is called an offspring. That concept is a little perplexing. What is the question? Why do we learn that the coupling that emerged on the 2 bits of the vessel of HMA to the vessel of Boehner, he calls male light for vac, and the record that remained from the first expansion in the vessel of Boehner is regarded only as the female light. Right? Go right. But female. Student says yes. Why is it called female? Because there's only a record there. You find that the level that there is in Boehner is called vac, whereas here in Psi, he asks, why am I not saying that Boehner that, who received from the coupling that emerged in the vessel of 32, and he says 3 is called vac that comes from clothing, and 2 remains in Boehner, and 2 descended to, and he doesn't say that it's called vac because of the result, the offspring. So he says, here is not like there one, except here I call it vac because there's clothing from it, meaning when the light was shining in the vessel of Keter, we say what can it to the lower ones, only vac. For this reason the third light, the 3 of clothing that descends to the vessel of HMA, and in the vessel of HMA there is no posterior. This is why they have the light of HMA. It's called vac of HMA, but why is it not called an offspring? Because there is more than there is there from the vessel of Boehner. The light that she receives comes from 3, so I know that's simple. Now, also, let's move to the next part of the lesson. Learning with friends. Foreign. Hello friends. We are studying with friends, studying together the article Matan Torah, the giving of the. It is in the study hall. Again the article, and in the study hall, and in the study material we will read item 9 and after that item 10, but in item 8 that we learned recently tells us an allegory, but a rich man, who took a person from the market and showered him with money and silver and gold, and gave him everything. Well, we won't read it, but it relates to what it says in item 8 relates to what it says in item 8. So the rich man asks him if by giving you all those things is that satisfy all your wishes. So the simple person tells him, not everything I wish has been satisfied, because it would be so good if I obtained all those possessions through my own work. And then later on says, this, it is a natural law, that the receiver feels shame and impatience upon receiving a free gift from the giver. Again, it is a natural thing, natural law for the receiver to feel shame and impatience when receiving a free gift from the giver, because of his compassion for him. And Bahram continues and says toward the end of it, from here extends the second law, that never will anyone be able to satisfy the needs of his friend to the fullest, because ultimately he will not be able to give him the nature and form of self-possession, as only with it is the desired perfection attained. But this relates only to the creatures, whereas regarding the Creator it is completely impossible and unacceptable. So that's the law that speaks of in item 8. Now we will read item 9 in the tens, and item 9 relates to the natural law, just so we have the context. So let's start reading together. In the tense, item 9, we're going to read it twice slowly. Don't rush. Gives a detailed and profound explanation of what he wants to explain. So let's read and try to immerse ourselves in the words of Balsam and connect with the 10. We'll read item 9 twice. Let's give it about 6 minutes. We'll see if it's enough. Item 9. Indeed, we need to examine the heart and the source of this natural law, and who it was that followed the flaw of shame and impatience that we feel upon receiving charity from another. It is understood from a law that is known to scientists that each branch bears the same nature as its roots. 1. And that the branch also desires, seeks, and craves and benefits from all the conducts of the root. 2. Conversely, all the conducts that are not in the root, its branch removes itself from them, cannot tolerate them, and is harmed by them. This law exists between each root and its branch and cannot be breached. This opens before us a door to understand the source of all the pleasures and pains in our world. Since the Creator is the root of his creations, we feel all that exists in him, and which is extended to us directly from him, as pleasant and delightful. For our nature is close to our root, and everything that is not in him and does not extend to us directly from him, but contradicts creation itself, will be against our nature and difficult for us to tolerate. Thus we love to rest and hate motion, so much that we do not make a single movement if not for the attainment of rest. This is so because our root is not in motion, but at rest, and no motion exists in him whatsoever. Therefore it is against our nature and loathsome to us as well. Do I know? And by the same token we love wisdom, strength and wealth, etc., because all those exists in him who is our root, and hence we hate their opposites, such as foolishness, weakness and poverty, since they do not exist in our root at all. This makes us feel hateful and lonesome, and pains us immeasurably. Item 9 again. Indeed, we need to examine the heart and the source of this natural law, and who it was that fathered the flaw of shame and impatience that we feel upon receiving charity from another. This is understood from a law that is known to scientists, that each branch bears the same nature as its root. 1. And that the branch also desires, seeks, and craves and benefits from all the conducts of the root. 2. Conversely, all the conducts that are not in their root, its branch removes itself from them, cannot tolerate them, and is harmed by them. This law exists between each root and its branch and cannot be breached. This opens before us a door to understand the source of all the pleasures and pains in our world. Since the Creator is the root of his creations, we feel all that exists in him, and which extends to us directly from him, as pleasant and delightful. For our root is close to our root, for our nature is close to our roots, and everything that is not in him and does not extend to us directly from him, but rather contradicts creation itself, will be against our nature and difficult for us to tolerate. Thus we love to rest and hate to move, so much so that we do not make a single movement if not for the attainment of rest. This is so because our root is not in motion, but at rest, and no motion exists in him whatsoever. Therefore it is against our nature and loathsome to us as well. Similarly, we love wisdom and strength and wealth because all those are in him who is our root, and therefore we hate their opposites, such as foolishness, weakness and poverty, since they do not exist in our root at all. This makes us feel hateful and lonesome, and pains us immeasurably. Okay friends, we read together item 9. I hope we all managed to do it twice. Let's watch clip number 1. Rob's explanation for item 9, please. Why does he say that in our root there is no movement? The Creator is not in motion. Do you know why? Say, when is there movement? Do you see? He knows and you don't. How's that possible? Motion movement is a sign to the reality of a deficiency inside this object, that in order to complete or to complement the himself from this to bring him to satisfaction, he makes a movement, otherwise it would never make a movement. Hence there's no motion in the Creator, because there's no deficiency in him. He has a deficiency to bestow, but that is not a deficiency that we count as movement, as motion. He makes many actions. All that he does, that's correct. You could say, but there's none else besides him. He does and will do all the actions altogether. So he's doing all the time. We don't do a thing, correct? But all that he does from a desire to bestow, not out of a deficiency. A deficiency to bestow is not considered like our deficiency. You need to define what this deficiency is. So it's in relation to the deficiency, not in relation to the action. Let's put it this way. When you love someone and you go towards him to meet him, and you need to, let's say, walk a kilometer to him. So if you walk a kilometer to your job, then for you, that's a burden to toil. I have to work and I have to see those sick people again. They'll stand in line and each will cry to me, and so those old ladies and those old men. But if you go to meet with someone that is very pleasant to you, it's not a problem. It's not a problem whatsoever. So that becomes our stroll. What's the difference between going on a hike and regular walking? In a stroll in the hike, you enjoy being in it, so it's not considered work. Whereas if I have to get to some place that's not pleasant to me, then that's toil, that's labour. So what does he want to tell us by that? That work, to be like the Creator, it's not work to be like the Creator. It's not like work. You know, there are people very rich that, let's say, they want to do some work they want to do some kind of labour, like a simple labour. That's again like that they pay money. They get into this, they do something, they enjoy doing it and even pay for doing it, they have satisfaction. That's not considered that they worked. To work is considered against the desire. Yes, that's it. Therefore, the Creator has no work. Even the Lord's called the Creator's work. But for him, it is pleasure to correct us and to fill us. Just ask him. By that, you are bringing him pleasure. Contentment, as we call it. So by what he writes, he wants to invite us to turn to the Creator for the Creator to do the work. Of course. That's what he's waiting for. The Creator awaits only one thing. He created everything in just a way that for each and every in detail. Ask for him. Ask him as if I have nothing. Give me, help me, do for me all the time. All the time, that's considered, because there are no deeds in us. So all our trouble and suffering and everything we do because we want to do it ourselves. Do you understand? So from this moment onwards you are free. You have nothing, no work, no nothing. You ask and he does. That's not the righteous praise, and the Creator performs. Why? Why doesn't it happen in reality? Because you don't want to ask. You can't ask. You don't know how to ask. But whoever knows what gives constantly for every detail, even the smallest of things you want, you'll have it. So how do I ask? What is the secret for the Creator to hear? For the Creator to hear, your request needs to be in order to bring him contentment. If you intend that, he in return will give you all you're asking for. That's it. And what gives him contentment? What will give him contentment? It doesn't matter what you want, $1 million, only in such a way that from that he will feel content. In what way will it bring him contentment? Through the group, through the friends. Through our V, there's no problem. Right, so we heard that being like the Creator is not considered work. What we'll do now is a short workshop, or minutes. Give each other advice how to ask correctly from the Creator in order to bring him contentment. Advise each other how to ask correctly from the Creator. Supposed to bring him contentment for minutes, to ask for the friends, to ask for the society, for the world, to start with gratitude, and then to move to the request. Ask even by force, even when we don't feel it, we feel it is tasteless, we don't feel any connection with the Creator. First of all, begin with this request, with his conversation with the Creator, and from there it becomes clearer over time to ask him, tell him I can't do something in order to bring him contentment so that he'll give me the strength to do it, to give me the ability to get there, and that's it. Yeah, it's just like a child with his parents. He always wants something. He wants to come closer. He wants many things. This is exactly what is happening here, that we want this connection. There's no suffering here. If the CH, the parents love their children, the child feels this love, and he doesn't suffer from it. So you have to ask for what he wants to give us. That's what brings them contentment, that we want to connect that. We want to love the friends. We want to express his greatness and to bestow like him. Try to be in that same quality and that same frequency with him together. Love the friends, and then you can ask for anything you want, but love the friends. And then it will be a prayer that is really called a prayer of many. Not that I'm praying with the many, but that these many are not me anymore. And then the prayer is a prayer of many. And from this he can enjoy the advice to sit between us and agree with one another of where he is. He is there in the connection between us. He broke the connection and he wants to us to rebuild it. What to do for that? How to come closer to one another. How to come out of self-concern to concern for the friend. These are the things that we need to do through the teacher, through the sources, through the group. Work that way, and he's there and he will enjoy from that. Yes, and great gratitude to the Creator. At now we can simply think of coming closer to him, approaching him through the friends, correcting the root of our soul, realizing our life's purpose, and to use the help of the friends. We have friends, we have a 10, we have a group. So ask for reminders from the friends. Give reminders to the friends. Constantly be around at, even though it's hard, and you don't. Usually it's hard, and you don't find yourself the moment you bring the friends in, it becomes common work. With the friends there are many good examples that we can look at and try to imitate them, and be like them, and envy them, and try to be like them. Yes, friends, we're continuing to deepen our study together with Rob's explanations, his eternal explanations. Let's move to clip number 2, please. We see here that to the extent that the branch develops from the root, it develops only through the concealment of the root in it. Likewise, from degree to degree, from face to face. But the rule is that the root is present and determines everything that there is in the branch, and therefore in any branch what is in the root. What is in the root is, as Sam says, the branch wants, it desires it, wholeness, eternity, satisfaction. We want it. Where is its opposite? Emptiness, foolishness, all those things. Of course, we reject it. We don't want it. We suffer. We hate it. This is the law of root, of branch and root. Very simple law. It's in all parts of creation, necessarily. According to this, we have it's like a magnet. These are drawn to these or the other way around, or they are rejected from each other. It's in the still vegetative and animate, and in people too if they behave like they animate. But here a person can change his nature. By using the reforming light, he can change his values, and to what is not important evaluate it as important, and to what is important evaluate it as not important, and in this way determine of his own accord, not according to the 4 phases of the red light, where each phase comes necessarily from the previous one or afterwards in all the worlds, where everything also comes by necessity, but as we say from below upwards, meaning that a person himself is capable We have to learn where is it, even rooted in us, this free choice, this freedom, the disconnection from the Creator and what it is exactly where we can determine, establish ourselves as independent. But in the meantime, he says that until we acquire this independence, we must exist like any branch with respect to its root. And independence is achieved after we disconnect from our roots. And then by this we are independent, and we begin to determine our form by ourselves through a process called my sons defeated me. You said that we disconnect from our root. Of course, if I want to be free, I have to be disconnected from the landlord. What else? Yeah, why are you so amazed? I don't want to be dependent on the Creator. So why do we want to adhere to him? Afterwards you will decide if you want to adhere or not, but of your own free choice. But the desire to adhere to him is because he's our root. But the decision about it has to be free. Nice more. Yes, I heard everything depends on the way the branch develops from the root. On the other hand, when there's a different process of disconnection to the state of my sons have defeated me, so on one hand, it's all to hear, and on the other hand, I'll tell you even more than that. After we disconnect from the roots, we build the roots. We're building the Creator. We not only disconnect, we build him. Yes, as if you have made me as it's written. You understand, it's not just to be similar. It is to build him according to how I depict, according to how I decide that the Creator should be above everyone and above everyone. What is above everyone? So I constantly correct myself with my values, and the highest values that I attribute to the Creator. And in this way, in each degree I built its crown out of my values in the bottom 9, and the next degree the bottom 9 are higher. How much so? Until all previous to I become like a dot at the next higher degree, and there I built another bottom line, the most absolute over them is, and this is how I build the Creator. Yes, so he says that the Creator is built to the extent in which you appreciate the friends. Of course. Yes, okay. And now my sons have defeated me. Yes, this is towards that same Creator that you created, to the extent in which we build the Creator. Yes, it's all with respect to the lower one. We discover it. From where do Kabbalists know all the laws of creation, the general law, our path only by discovering it for themselves. What did a book of Torah fall on them from heaven? They were like us who started discovering it through actions, through mutual actions. Just like Abraham taught them how he discovered it, and he discovered it following and all the 20 generations between them. This is how they discovered it. It was, all this is how everything happened. So it turns out that my sons have defeated me is renewed each time there. Each time I knew my sons defeated me. Of course, what needs in the maximal in the end state of my sons defeated me. That we build the Creator from the correct connections between us, because the Creator turns out to be the law in the system of connection between us. It's a mutual integral system that is in complete cooperation. I heard from Rav like this. But a person can change his nature here by changing his usage of the reforming light. He can change his values, and to what is not important he can give an important value, and to what's not important, what is important he can give a non-important value, and to define them from himself. So from this we want to go to another workshop. 5 minutes. What things do you feel that are still not important enough in you, and you'd like to help to make them more important? With the help of the 10. What things do we feel that are not important enough in us, and we'd like to make them more important with the help of the 10. 5 minutes. I feel I'm missing a little thankfulness to be in the awareness of spiritual development is a gift. It's the greatest gift you could receive in this world, the awareness of the feeling of the Creator, and I would like to be more thankful too for this privilege of being all together in this thought process. I think it's both external and internal. First of all, we have to grow stronger in the framework. During the day, connect to the friends more and not disconnect while you're at work or elsewhere. Not miss out on these points of connection, and also internally to be in it, to see how you place the 10 and you really feel that it's a part of you. There's always work to work on it, and that it will be important in your eyes. When something is important, it's always on your mind. What not important things would I want to be important more in me? Oh, many things. First of all, the framework to participate in all that the 10 does. All in all, I would like to feel that I'm going to attain the Creator in the 10. I don't know. Continue. Yep, we always have what to improve, how to advance, and specifically in the state I'd say in building the prayer and connection with the friends. I'd say that this is what I would improve, and then in building the common prayer in the 10. I also wanted to say about that I myself feel that I'm lacking the plea to the Creator in order to ask Him for this force to reach this concern for love of friends, more for longing for Him, for His greatness, and to be asking more and to ask for the prayer of the friends. What else to feel that is missing? It's how much the friends who are with you on the path, how important they are, how much the Creator wants them, how specifically they are the friends who will give you the deficiency you and are with you on the path. And then I know what I need to do, what it really means to love the friends. What is the inner connection I'll always be lacking? I will always be lacking the force of our, which is a thing that only the Creator can give. But for a true prayer from the depth of the broken heart, so that in every request there's me, there's the serpent that's sitting there. But we want to be very pure and care for the friends, so the friends will truly be able to think only about spirituality, and they leave all the other thoughts. That's where our root is. Yeah, and this is, we can obtain this only through the friends, only through prayer for the friends can we come to some desire for real prayer. Yes, this work with the Creator where it's hard to sometimes remember this, and we need importance in this also the friends, so that we'll constantly be around this gratitude and request constant connection with Him. We must remember that the friends are the only thing that can lift me from the desire to receive from myself, and the friends are really the only thing that matters in this world. Yes, friends, we're going to move to questions and answers. But before you prepare those questions and answers, we would like to ask this question. Robin, the lesson said that to be like the Creator is not considered work, not labour. So to be like the Creator, as we understand, is to be in the quality of bestow. Can someone give an example that he did something for the society and that was not labour for him? Can someone give such an example of such effort, such labour in the society? That wasn't considered work. It was fun to do without efforts, but everyone is in labour. Once at a congress they said there's a on the roof, so I went up there. The roof was empty. Here there was this circle of friends. Here there will be the gather in France. So we had to set up the chairs. At that moment I felt the greatness of this gathering that would be there. It was so great that I simply found myself running, carrying chairs, and didn't feel any tiredness or anything. And then I noticed that, wait a minute, what's moving me? So I felt that it was the greatness, and it was no effort, nothing, was just a pleasure. Setting up the circle to the friends. Anyone else did sort of actions without effort feel to me like work. It was a privilege. Everything I said was just pleasure, that I could give something to the 10 to the friends and participate in this exercise. I'm a musician by profession. Many times I performed in the external world, and I remember our congresses, especially the big congresses where we together with the band. When Danny Weiss was the band manager, we kind of performed, so it seemed like seemingly it's the same thing. It's the same order. There's many actions that we have to do, and some not simple schedule. We need to constantly pay attention. There's a lot of pressure, and there's very stern manager and all those things. But you don't feel like you're working. You feel that you're simply being filled with pleasure from having the opportunity to be with the friends in the group and to perform and be a part of and be a vessel in the hands of Raf, who was giving the lessons, was a true pleasure that cannot be compared to anything that happens in this world in my work. Thank you. Hello friends in the Congress in Guarver. I had the privilege of combing friends from other tents. To me, that was a huge pleasure. I really wanted to very quickly comb all the friends, and I only wanted to comb more and more quickly and more friends, because I didn't feel it as work, but as pleasure. I didn't want it to end. It was great joy for me to pamper the friends. Okay, So we can move to questions and answers. We understood meaning. We understand that if the goal is important, then anything even to comb the friends' hairs can be not labor, but great pleasure. We just need the friends to be great in our eyes. So yes, please no, Sahar. Try again. We can't hear you. Women Mac 167. A question about, and they accept from, Torah from the giving of the Torah. F. Bestow and rest is according to our root. Why is a person required to do so many efforts to come to a state that is natural for him? Yes, because we're not similar to our root. We're the opposite to our root. That's the whole thing. The moment we reach a state in which we're like him, then we will also feel that it's not work, and we'll bestow. Just like we hear, the Creator does a billion actions in a second, but he doesn't feel that it's work, that it's labor. We won. Action for the sake of bestow is hard for us to do because we're opposite. So yeah, this is the whole thing to resemble the root, and then we won't feel labor. This we will understand. The prohibition of working on a Sabbath. The meaning is that it's impossible cause you're in wholeness already. You're already in a state of every action. Like we heard in the clip, whoever works for the sake of the Creator to bring him contentment does not feel any labor. By the way, it's the same like in our world, someone who does something for the benefit of an important person. Let's say if the person was so important to me, then every action I would do towards him would not be felt in me as labor. And altogether it's a revolution, a psychological revolution, that anything we do for the sake of the society in the 10 can invert it to something that we won't feel any effort in. This only a matter of importance. This is how we're built. Thank you, friends. What does it mean to build a ket of importance of the Creator above the 9 bottom 9s with the help of the friends? Your question relates to the clip we watched. So I said that every time we have to build the quality of ket, but before that he said we have to disconnect from the root, and then to take something that is not important for us and make it very, very important. Every time anew we have to raise it to becoming a ketcher, a crown. This I constantly correct myself in my values, and the highest values I attribute to the Creator. And this is how in each degree I build its kettle out of my values in the bottom 9. In the next degree the bottom 9 are higher. How much so? Until the previous tense field had become like a dot at the higher level, and I built their other bottom 9 the most absolute. Likewise ket on them. And this is how I built the Creator, and afterwards he connected it to the process of my sons. Defeated me before that he also said it depends on extolling the friends, meaning we increase the importance of those values. By this we build the Creator. So what is building the Creator? What is you have made me that talks about that we raise the same values on different levels of coarseness. New coarseness is revealed, and these values lose importance. The quality of bestow loses importance. What does it mean to increase the importance of the Creator? It's to raise the importance, the quality of bestow above other qualities. Along the way, we have to increase the greatness of the friends, because from them we get a greatness of Belarus. You see, when a person comes to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, he bestows. It's not something that's difficult for him. I for about 10 years was responsible for the kitchen when I arrived in all kinds of congresses. I fed the friends, and then suddenly there was some great hard resistance that appeared, some form of pride, and then it suddenly became from labor for the Creator, and resistance appeared. So let's think about that together. Mach 11. What are the wisdom, strength and wealth that we love in the spiritual work? Those are the qualities of the Creator. A person that reaches equivalence of form of the Creator, he actually identifies with him and also feels wealth, wholeness. That is as a consequence of equivalence of form with the Creator. Oh, did you want to ask, please? From Israel, I was thinking about a request, but it's not exactly to the Creator. The state of the Congress is a special state for a tent, so I thought maybe we could ask open access to our voodoo system to those who couldn't pay for whatever reason just for those 3 days of the Congress, so that the tens can connect. I don't know if it's possible technically, but I think it would help. Thank you. I didn't understand. Did you understand this? The friend says that the state of the Congress is a very special state. So he said that there are friends who for all kinds of reasons couldn't pay to the vote system. So maybe we should give them access and possibility to connect only for the time of the Congress. Yes, certainly, there's no problem. We have a mail for the India system, and yes, we'll take care of it. There's no such thing that someone who wants to participate in the Congress and only because he doesn't have money won't participate. If there are such people, have them appeal and we'll help them. Yeah. We should also say that there are many friends as part of that are connected to the river system without paying for financial reasons. We're helping 1,500 people. This is not some extreme situations. There's no problem to be, don't be ashamed to turn. Just like 1,500 people get helped and 1 or 2 more or as many as we need, we'll be okay. Unity 3. It's understood from the clip that the work is always against the desire, and the free choice exists in order to acquire the work. When you talk about free choice, you're talking about what Ra explained in the clip. He'd explained that we need to disconnect from the Creator, and to choose anew to be like Him. That's the whole process he talked about. Here, he talked about us disconnecting from the root. We build the root. That is, if we were to remain adhere to the root all the time, then the root builds in us the process. But he says we don't just disconnect, but we disconnect from it in order to build it out of our free choice. This is exactly called You Made Me. How do we build Him? We build Him by raising those values, those qualities that are not important to us and make them important. That's what the friend asked earlier about meaning how we re-invert that quality from each. So this begins the moment we willingly disconnect from the root in order to be able to build it through a request to Him, and by that we make Him You Have Made Me, and then in the end he calls it my sons have defeated me. Thank you very much for a wonderful lesson, for allowing me to ask. Toward the upcoming Congress R10, for the first time during the Congress, we will be isolated when we have a possibility to disconnect. But there's also the concept that there's no coercion in spirituality. How do we make this boundary correctly, where on one hand we have a serious demand, and on the other hand we shouldn't coerce anything. Shouldn't impose anything. Is anyone in the hall that wants to answer? Maybe ask again. And the friends now they'll think and they'll answer you. Please ask again. Only a question with a question mark in the end. We have a tense convention ahead of us, and there's an opportunity, a great opportunity, to make a leap toward the Creator in the 10. There's also the concept that there's no coercion in spirituality. So how do we explain the boundary between the effort? And in addition, there's overcoming yourself and making a boundary. Where's the boundary? Yeah, good question. There are no boundaries. Overcoming is not coercion in spirituality. Overcoming is part of our work. A person who works in spirituality has overcoming. Whoever doesn't want to be here and he's coerced and he's not here, no one is being coerced. This Congress takes each friend in the turn to the edge. On the one hand, there's expectation from myself and from each friend. On the other hand, you have to feed everyone with love. You're moving on to extremes, and there's fear that we will come to love with love to each other and accept everyone in whatever state they're in until we are consolidated into one. The border, the boundary is the barrier. We say there is. We got a problem with the microphone. The boundary is the barrier. We need to move from there is coin in corporality to there's no coin in spirituality, and we'll get a new road ahead. Okay, I hope you received your answer. So, we finished today. We have a lesson. I'd like to advertise at 4 p.m. We have a lesson on the top on the special topic. It's called the Book of Torah. We went through 3 days of holiday of the giving of Torah, so we thought it was appropriate to dedicate today's lesson, to this topic. So we prepared a special lesson with special excerpts about the Torah that Kabbist wrote. So we collected such excerpts. Also, we found Programs of Senior with and Owen with on weekly portions, and we will try to bring from the materials about the 10 commandments and how these laws appear in our 10. We'll try to connect them, and of course, we will watch the film 10 Steps to the Light toward the end of the lesson. Those who can are invited to participate. It'll be interesting.